Welcome to Cosmic Roadmap. I'm your host, Melissa Lambor, Reiki Astro Geoguide and author. I support endless wanderers with where they are meant to be in the world. This podcast is for the digital nomad, the avid traveler, and aspiring globetrotter who is seeking their next destination on planet Earth. Join us as we venture around the world through people's stories and how astrogeography has connected them to their planetary energies and purpose. My special guest today is Ashley Abramson. Her life purpose is to guide workaholic 6- and 7-figure earners back into alignment so they can step into their most authentic selves and live a life of bliss and abundance. After over a decade in human services industry as a social worker, Ashley found herself chasing someone else's dream. She knew that she was meant for more and took a leap of faith into her most magical life. Her goal is to blend her wisdom and expertise of the impact childhood traumas have on adults. Ashley believes that everyone should learn how to step into alignment and gratitude. She also has a podcast, The Unicorn Effect, where in under 5 minutes, you can shake off whatever is blocking you that day. Yeah, welcome, Ashley. So we met through our most recent best-selling book, Lineage Speaks, that released on the 21st of January, which was so exciting. And now it's out on Amazon and it's filled with so many inspiring stories, and the proceeds go to an amazing organization, Elamu Girls. So welcome, and tell me a little bit about yourself and how our recent AstroGeo session has helped you gain clarity on your present, your past, and your future.
First of all, thank you so much for having me, Melissa. And the reading was absolutely amazing. It put a lot of things into perspective for me. Like you said, I am a mentor for dynamic leaders. I work with people who have either recently gone through a really hard season in life or they're stuck in that rat race. They're workaholics. They can't live a life of fulfillment and they're not happy. They're just constantly chasing the dollar, like I said, or they went through a major dark season recently that has shown them that they have based their happiness on external things and they can't truly find that happiness within. So I appreciate the warm welcome and the beautiful introduction. But our recent reading, so I would say one of the biggest pieces, because it was so recent, it was just a day ago, that was an eye-opener, was I grew up, born and raised in Minnesota, for 38 years, lived in Minnesota. I always felt a pull away. Ever since I was a little girl, I absolutely loved Paris. And I finally went there after my divorce, which was my pivotal moment of really stepping into my most authentic self and building this beautiful, magical life that I'm living currently. I know we looked at Paris and it was interesting because there wasn't a ton of energy that went through there, but you'll have to tell me exactly what it was, Melissa, but there was the one where you feel like home, like you feel
you definitely had, you had moon energy and also I think Venus energy, so love energy. So it made sense. Most of almost like Portugal, Spain, and the rest of Eastern Europe, I remember you had a lot of energy going through there. So it made sense why you felt at home in Europe in general.
Yeah, so that was a really huge piece. And then I not recently, probably a while ago now, had a mentor that I met via online. And he was a huge part of my healing with the men in my life. I had been most relationally hurt by the men, my grandfather, my father, my stepfather, my ex-husband, and him being a male and going on that spiritual journey with him was one of the most healing journeys to truly love myself at a level I never knew was possible and to love others. But the very cool thing with our reading is he lived in Tampa. And my Pluto line, which is the line of transformation and huge growth, goes straight through Tampa. So when I came to visit him, I actually decided that I needed to live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and moved here shortly after. I just felt what I call a soul dance party. Now, when I have that feeling inside, I listen to it because I know that person, place, idea is the next step in my journey. And it's usually that butterfly fear, but excitement feeling. And since I've been in St. Petersburg, I've made amazing connections. I absolutely love it here, but it has been so freaking hard. There has been so many challenges, so many of my shadow coming forward. And I've only been here since August, and the transformations have been incredible, huge transformations in a short amount of time. I constantly feel like I'm transforming. And I just thought it was like where I was at. And it is also too where I'm at in my spiritual journey. But it was really cool to have the reading yesterday and for you to be like, you're living on your Pluto line, and it's a disharmonious Pluto line at that.
Right.
So it makes so much sense. And it also gave me like a freeing feeling, Melissa, is that because we talked about traveling away from here from time to time, and that living here is fine, but you just knowing that this is the challenge that you're facing while you're here. And just knowing that gives me a different outlook on the growth that has occurred here and the challenges I've been faced with, because I'm a person that loves to transform. I hate it in the moment a lot of times because it's hard and it's
Like that
icky
stagnant
and
energy, right?
yeah. Or it's just super dark and scary and makes you question a lot of things. But it feels like now there's really a purpose, because when we look at the US on my map, there's a little bit like in Florida on the East Coast, that area.
Right.
And then there's a little bit over on the West Coast. But otherwise, the rest of the country is pretty clear of any energy.
Yeah, you had also a mentor or business connection, right, in
Yes.
California recently.
Yep.
And you had a lot of
Yep.
good energy there too. Yeah, Neptune, which is like spirituality, and also moon energy, which is home. So you almost felt at home with this
Yeah.
mentor. Right?
Yeah. So it's just brought like a lot of clarity to what has already occurred in life. And I've also, a big piece we talked about too is I've been having this pull to Thailand. And according to my map, there is a ton of energy there and a ton of really good energy. So I'm really excited to take an adventure there. My dream was always to be there like a month to 3 months and really explore and really get in with the culture and understand and make great relationships. So I'm really excited to do that. And there's just so much realization, because a lot of people would be like, oh, where do you want to travel? And I'm always like, outside of the country. They're like, oh, don't you want to travel in the country? And I've just never really felt that pull. Like when it's time to go on vacation, oh, let's go to Utah. Like
Doing
I've
like a
never,
cross country type of trip.
I've
Yeah.
never really had the interest to explore more of the US. My true interest is other countries. Like we also talked about Africa and Asia and Europe, and that's what lights me up. And when we look at my map, it's like all of my energy is not in this, it's like all over there in the other
Yeah, and
countries.
you had amazing energy through Egypt, and you actually had a trip just planned, right? That you
Yep.
didn't work out. Yeah. Yeah, we were like a month apart if you would have gone since I was in Egypt in July, and I recommended going to like a dolphin retreat because you did have amazing energies going through the Red Sea. That's something that I did, and it was an amazing experience. But yeah, I do see you going Southeast Asia. I saw so much energy when I looked at your map again. I also saw the moon, the circle. So that little epicenter of energy on the line for the moon energy was right over Bali. So I'm not sure if that was another place that you had considered, but you would feel at home there.
Yep. A friend and I actually had talked about going there. Her friend has an Airbnb, staying like a month or 2 months there. But of course, we all know with COVID, travel has not been as easily accessible as it has in the past. It's just a lot of reaffirming and clarity on the feelings and pulls I've had, and just how the different locations and the people that are from certain locations that have had huge impact on my life, how it all makes sense.
Exactly. And you even had pulls. So most of your energy, like you mentioned, is either on the East Coast, so a little bit in the Miami area, you had sun energy and moon node energy. So tapping into your purpose and also that illumination being recognized, which is the same energy that went through Thailand, which is interesting because you're living pretty close to those two energies that it's meant to crack open or let you see your purpose in life. So the fact that you're living there and you want to go to Thailand is Yeah, it's amazing because it's just going to allow you to keep opening up to what you're meant to do here. Yeah, the other energy that we saw was around Portland, and you always wanted to go to Portland. And is that
Yep.
something that you see in the future?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I've always talked about wanting to own Airbnbs all over the world, and one of
Mm,
them being in Paris, one of them being in Portland, just because even though I haven't been to Portland, I love how it's so close to so much, like the ocean, the mountains, like you can get to all these different places, and it's just a really cool, eclectic place from what I see. I've never been there, but from
yeah,
what I
it's
see,
supposed to be a quirky place. Yeah.
yeah, and my
Yeah.
sister lived there for a
Okay.
short period of time as well. But yeah, definitely Portland is in the future, and I'm excited to see what is there for me.
And I'm just realizing right now, so Portland, you have love and moon energy. So the
Mm,
Venus line and the moon line, which is home, Venus being love. And those are the same energies that you had right near Paris. So the fact that you want
mm,
to do Airbnbs in that energy,
those
yeah, just keep looking for the Venus and the moon lines because it's almost like you want to create this like loving retreat for people. And so
mm.
yeah, I love that for you. And yeah, tell me a little bit about how you got into your business. I know that you were working in a whole other industry in social services, and how did that shift happen?
Yeah, when I was 32 years old, I was in child protection for over a decade. So, social services doing child protection. And when I was 32, my entire life was ripped out from under me. I was going through a divorce. I was losing everything. I lost friends, fame, possessions, a lot of things, and a piece of myself because I had built a life so focused on others. And that's based on some other things that occurred in my life, which I would encourage you to pick up the book Lineage Speaks because I leave a part of my soul in there. I know you do as well, Melissa. It's just a beautiful book. But the divorce, I self-destructed. I saw myself as not worthy of anything anymore. And by golly, I was going to act that way. So I completely self-destructed for a good year and did things I never thought I was capable of doing. And then I was faced with a performance improvement plan at work, and I was given what's called reflective supervision, which is essentially like coaching. It wasn't about business or work, it was about you and getting you better, because if you're better as a human, you'll be better as a worker. And that was like my start into really incorporating all the personal development things I had read all of my life. I had been always really big into it, but I never surrounded myself with the people that really fostered it. I didn't put myself in environments that were conducive to integrating it. And I also really didn't know how to integrate it. I think that's a big piece with personal development today is a lot of people read a ton of books, and that's so beautiful. But just because the knowledge is in your brain doesn't mean it's impacting you in any manner. Like integration is huge and it's hard to understand. And that's why coaches are a huge stepping stone to really understanding how to integrate all this knowledge out there. So that was the beginning of my journey. And as I continued to grow and really step into my authentic self, the little girl I had locked away, and really heal her, and not only heal her, but reparent her and rebond and create a relationship with her where she's a part of my everyday life and my decision making and just honoring all aspects of me. I realized that like I loved the people I worked with, loved the impact, but I felt like I could impact so much more when I allow my inner child to have, when she's allowed to really be a part of the decision making, we tend to push a lot of boundaries.
Mm.
We tend to question things, and that's not really accepted in the government sector. So I just felt really boxed in. I felt, oh, here's little Ashley, I'm letting her out, but we're in an area that doesn't really allow her to have true connection with others. And human connection is the reason we're here, is human connection. And so I never wanted another woman to feel the way I did when I went through divorce. So I first started coaching women after divorce. And then it organically shifted through some impact I had on some other people into the work I'm doing now. But all along the way, it's inner child work. It's really reconnecting with your truest self, your most authentic self that we're taught to lock up. That's why I use the term the unicorn effect. My podcast is called the Unicorn Effect Podcast, because when I finally stepped into my most authentic self, I grew up as a tomboy. So I wasn't into like rainbows and unicorns and all that stuff. Like I was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but someone asked me, they're like, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel like a magical freaking unicorn. And unicorn, I say that because we're taught that a unicorn is this magical, mystical creature that we're only meant to dream of and we can never see. Just as we grow up, we may have been taught that our most authentic self is not meant to be seen and you're meant to lock that away. And I'm here to tell you that's crap. You are meant to be your most magical unicorn self, and I will walk you there and support you and 100% help you create that environment and those people around you that really support who you truly are instead of who you've been pretending to be. So I went on a rampage, but that's how I've gotten
I love
into
it.
here. I just want to be able to have true human connection and really help people on their journey to their most authentic selves. And I don't want any parameters. I want to do it at the most human, purest, beautiful form, no matter what that journey looks like or how it gets there. There isn't all these boxes like the government provided.
Yeah, I love that you bring up the integration part because we consume so much, especially people that jump from coach to coach. They don't allow themselves the integration period. And I was guilty of that too, where you want to see results, but you need that time to digest the information to see if things will work out. And also coming from the government sector as an engineer, I totally understand the confinement, still being in that position at this point. And being in the pandemic, we're still working from home. I had the ability to just color my hair, where in the past, and I actually called it unicorn hair. So when I colored it, purple and green, I was like, yeah, this is my unicorn hair. So it's just perfect that you're on my podcast and you're talking about your unicorn effect, because that's how I felt. I felt confined, like it's so stuffy, like you can't be yourself, and allowing that inner child to come out through different things, through taking motorcycle lessons, right? I'm not there yet where I can actually ride a motorcycle. My partner is the one that rides the motorcycle, but it's just so freeing to just let go of just the limitations that so many people put on you because of fear, and because they're projecting, what maybe they couldn't do in the past. So they're like, no, you need to stay at that level too. And it's no, I see so much more for myself. And I am pushing through a lot as I build my business, and a lot of sacrifices where I can't go to certain things, or maybe, the time to be around your family isn't as much as in the past, because you're trying to build something, and it's to really allow the future generation for them to grow and be more than what we could have been.
So beautiful. Yeah. And I'm just a firm believer too that, and this goes into the hustle culture and the rat race, is that we're taught that you can't build anything unless you're sacrificing everything. And I heard you saying that, Melissa.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say that's crap.
Right.
I know if today I was told I have 24 hours to live, that since I've really stepped into where I'm at, that I'm very happy with my life and the experiences I have had. Yes, I'll be really sad to leave Earth because I have so much more to experience. But I know in the last year that I have experienced life in the most purest, beautiful present form. And that means that I didn't sacrifice everything to build this business. Yes, my business maybe hasn't grown as fast as someone who doesn't partake in with family or friends or anything like that anymore, but that's not what it's about. Like at the end of the day, I'm here to impact others, but the only way I can impact others is if I stay true to myself. And true to myself is randomly going to the beach one day, is if a friend calls and wants to do something and I don't have any set engagements with calls and it sounds amazing, to go do it. But yes, I also step into my masculine energy to get things done, but I don't ever sacrifice my inner child or my feminine energy to fully step into that masculine and hit it hard and be like, okay, if I just lock myself in my room for the next 2 years, the rest of my life will be amazing. Guess what? I could die in those 2 years, and that would really freaking suck all the time I gave up with the people that mattered the most to me.
That's so true. Yeah. And thank you for that reminder. It's just that
Yeah.
I'm also in that space of leaving my job and like trying to set up the business. So you do feel like there's a bit of a sacrifice. And I've had to tell myself, like, hey, take it easy. Like you do have more time to build out your business. But yeah, I'm in that space, but definitely leaning into joy, because the more you lean into joy, the more abundance that comes into our lives. So I wish I was down there in Florida with you, because I would totally be on the beach as well.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
today, it's 60 degrees,
Right,
but
right. Hey, it's what, 40, I think 30, or even I think it's even lower here. It's been way too cold to jump into my hot tub. That was one of the inner
oh, wow.
child things that I added to my life. At the beginning of the year, I installed a hot tub. I went to a retreat and I'm like, this is amazing. Even though it's cold outside, this is the most amazing thing ever. So that's been a great thing for inner child work, because I just jump in there like my little kiddie pool. It's my adult kiddie pool.
I love it.
So yeah, so for your future, you mentioned a little bit about Thailand, maybe going to Bali, Southeast Asia, maybe Portland. What other places do you see, and like how do you see your business expanding into these places that we've spoke about in your Astro Geo session, but just in general, now that you have a little bit of that knowledge, how do you see yourself expanding?
Yeah, I think it just gives me insight into different areas to really tap into, the areas that I'm seeing and my moon energy is. I'm really looking forward to the future, but just the understanding of what the heck is going on here in St. Petersburg, Florida,
That
it
roller
was
coaster
like,
ride.
golden, was like, okay, Melissa, that's amazing.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, because I lived on my Pluto line my whole life. I was born into it, and I'm always wondering why. And it's really because it's that accelerated growth, that accelerated way to work through our shadows. And yeah, and if you need to take a break, you take a break. You go and travel.
Yep, exactly. And that was another big thing too, is okay, I just went through some really big transformations. I'm thinking that in the next month or two, I need to set some time to even just go to Miami or wherever, because over on that coast, it's completely different energy.
Yeah, and over there you had your sun and your moon node, so you may uncover some other things, even though you have some ideas about Miami. But I'm really excited to see what comes of connecting to these energies now that you have this idea, right? I had this idea of Miami, but maybe connecting more, collaborating, and seeing where the sun energy takes me, or where the moon node takes me, the moon node being the purpose energy. So it may crack open some things that you never expected. So how can people work with you? What are your offerings coming up? I know that you have your podcast, but how can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram at Ash_Abramson, Abramson, or they can go to my website at coachwithashley.net. You can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. I have a 6-month one-on-one coaching offer where it's really in-depth, intense inner child work. We actually spend an entire day together. I come to where you are. There's experts that I bring in breath work and different things like that. And I also have recently launched a 6-week inner child project. It's a fast track to honoring and harnessing the power of your inner child. It's a beautiful container. It's 6 people or less, so it's very intense and one-on-one, 2 hours a week, comes with a workbook. We dig deep. You get a Facebook community. And then, yeah, it's only 6 weeks. It's amazing. And then I plan to be releasing in the near future a 6-month mastermind program, which is the Mastermind Inner Child Project. And that's where we dig even deeper and do a lot of embodiment techniques. And there will be experts that come in where we just really dig deep into that inner child, because it's not something you just do and walk away from. Like your inner child, you need to constantly be cognizant, which is listening to your body, paying attention to what your body is telling you, and just really learning how to integrate that. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. I consider myself an inner child expert. And I do have another book coming out in March with the same publishing company that we use for Lineage Speaks, Amazing Bridget, of course. And
Exalted
that is
Publishing. Yep.
Yep. And that is where social work can lead you. And it's going to be amazing. I think 21 of us, different social workers. and it's all about our journeys in, through, and out of social work. I think there's only a few of us that have actually taken what we learned in social work and then left, and a lot of the other people are still in social work or have utilized and are in similar areas of social services. So I actually just submitted my chapter a week ago and have left a part of my soul in that as well. Like just
Amazing.
leaving pieces of the soul
Exactly.
everywhere. And the 6-week inner child project constantly has a wait list because we're constantly reopening. I do about 5 of them at a time. So one every day of the week. So there's usually always opportunities to get in if you are interested.
Yes, thank you so much. And definitely connect with Ashley for the inner child work. It's such important work. So thank you for being on today. And I leave everyone with this quote: lineage goes beyond our ancestors. You are meant to connect to the cosmos so you may finally find your cosmic family. Until next time.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you for listening to Cosmic Roadmap. If you're curious about astrogeography and where you're meant to be on the planet, go to cosmicroadmap.com to download your free passport to purpose. You can also book a session with me where we can explore your own cosmic roadmap and chart your next destination in business, love, and life.